This Choircast podcast is brought to you by The Choirlings, a private Facebook page for people going through deconstruction, where each month we go through a book together, not only discussing it with each other, but also with the actual author of the book. It's a great way to connect with other people going through deconstruction and also connect with the author of books that are going to encourage you along your journey. If you'd like to join us, find us on Facebook. It's Choirlings, Quoirlings. Hope to see you there.
Hey, heathens, you're listening to the Deadly Faith podcast where religion and crime collide. I'm Lola.
And I'm Lacey.
And this shit is sanguinary.
The mind that was in Jesus, that mind is in me.
Without me, life has no meaning.
Why would God tell you what I'm thinking and tell you what I've said to my wife or my husband when you're not around? It's because I'm the pastor of the church and I need to know.
This is the only place where you can see truth.
Oh, huh?
I knew I'd get you with that one. Okay, sanguinary. It describes something as being like lots of bloodshed is involved.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sanguination. Isn't that sanguination like when you get your blood?
I don't know. Hold on. What's sanguination? Hold on. Now I need to know. Sanguination is loss of blood.
Loss of
bleeding out.
Yeah, sanguination. That's what I was trying to. Loss of blood. There you go.
Weird. Okay.
We interrupt today's episode to bring you a message from our sponsor, Javi. Say goodbye to chaotic mornings and hello to delicious, convenient coffee. With Javi's coffee concentrate in a variety of flavors, you can whip up your favorite brew in no time. Whether you prefer hot, iced, or even blended coffee, Javi's got you covered, okay? Just a teaspoon of this magic elixir is all you need for a flavorful kickstart to your day. Trust me, once you try it, you'll be hooked. From classic flavors like vanilla and caramel to decadent options like cookies and cream and caramel brulee, Javi literally has something for every coffee lover. As a mom with 3 kids, 2 dogs, 3 bunnies, and 25 chickens, I love how Javi helps me make a delicious iced coffee every morning in under 2 minutes. Seriously, guys, it's just so quick. You just pour it all together, stir it in, and enjoy. My favorite flavor right now is the caramel brulee, but I did just order the cookies and cream along with the decaf so I can enjoy an afternoon or evening coffee without jacking up my sleep schedule. They've got original and they've got even more other flavors to come. They've got mocha as well. You really don't want to miss this. So if you want to save some time each morning and even a little money, or if you just want to try a damn good cup of coffee, try Javi today. Don't wait. Click the link in the show notes and use code LACY33468 at checkout to enjoy 20% off your purchase. Again, click the link in the show notes and use code LACY33468 at checkout. And that is Lacey with an I. Enjoy that 20% off, guys, and back to the show.
So we're talking about Mormons.
Again.
I can't get off the train, apparently. There's so much more to it, than just Joseph Smith Jr. Because like his life was very short. But things go on past him and more crime occurs, if you can believe it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's something, a religion born out of crime suddenly produces more crime.
And I feel like a lot of religions or denominations that have high control within their subsect or whatever, there's going to be more crimes. Because you're manipulating and brainwashing and controlling people. It's not Christians altogether.
No.
Statistically, and I could be wrong, but I would wager a bet that more of the crime statistically falls within high control religions.
We should look into that.
We should do our own study.
We should just have a statistics day,
I like that.
Just statistics.
Statistics.
Okay, I have trigger warnings.
All right, let's hear them.
Mass murder, racism, and trickery.
Trickery.
Andrew laughed at the trickery one, and I was like, it's trickery.
It's sure. I'm here.
And trickery is not, I mean, in this case, I feel like there should be a trigger warning for it.
Yeah, there you go. Hey,
I don't know.
You never know. I think I said this last time. You do really good at picking the cases that like I have no idea about.
Yeah.
Which, if you know me, then like specifically my husband who's listening to this, he's like, that is That is an art. That is a talent for Lola to be able to pick cases that Lacey has never heard of, because true crime all the time is really pretty much my life. I don't know. I have a problem. Not really.
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand as an avid true crime consumer.
Yeah.
Well, I found it. Another gem in the Mormon crown. What? Okay. Why did I say that? I don't know. I have a book recommendation, and a lot of information from this comes from, I want to shout out Vanessa Martinez, who is one of our followers and listeners. Thank you so much for messaging me, because she's messaged me multiple times on here. And she recommended some information for this Mormon deep dive. It's called Mormon Stories Podcast.
Oh, I love the Mormon Stories podcast.
Yeah.
Love them.
So they had the author of the book Vengeance is Mine come on, or like the co-author. I think it was written by a couple of different people.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so a lot of that information I'm going to include here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. Shout out.
And so yeah, we will link Mormon Stories podcast and the book, and I have those on backlog, Lacey, because I know I'm bad about links.
I know, so am I. I'm like, oh shit,
I can't help who I am. Okay. Anyway, why is this significant? This Mountain Meadows Massacre.
It's a triple M score.
It is. I like that it's, and what is it? Alliteration? Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I hate what it is. So it's significant because it was and still is a stain on the LDS community. Actually, a lot of people that are still like subscribing to LDS beliefs may not know about this.
And when she says LDS, for those that don't know, it means Latter-day Saints, which I'm sure now most of you know that, but
the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, all that stuff, whatever the long title is. We just say LDS here. So, as if they didn't have enough going against them, innocent lives were lost. And everything that happened here was out of vanity and selfishness and violent church dogma.
Oh, wow.
This Mountain Meadows Massacre was committed by LDS members in 1857 in Utah, and it wiped out an entire train of immigrants that were traveling to California.
Holy fuck.
Yes. So,
my gosh.
It was okay. I'm just going to go straight into it.
Okay.
Because I got to hop around a little bit with this. Okay. So it was rumored that the immigrants that were traveling were bragging to nearby neighborhoods on their trail that they had poisoned a nearby spring, and that they had the gun that killed Joseph Smith. Do you remember him? The founder? So Mormon community is catching wind of this, and so they're like, what? So that's like the whole reason on the outside looking at. Okay. So if you read the basic wiki page, you'll probably get that.
Gotcha.
I have more to this though. So Juanita Brooks wrote a book published in 1950 about this. She was also just an awesome person. I just have a side note about her. She was the typical stay-at-home wife in the 1950s, you know. But then, so stay-at-home wife by day, and then she was a historical researcher by night.
Fuck yeah. Get it, girl.
Like, she was a writer. It's awesome. So
love it.
She's published other books too, but specifically wrote one just about Mountain Meadows Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into this, just know that the people who researched this matter, that learned about the firsthand accounts from descendants of survivors and descendants of perpetrators.
Yeah.
They have been sometimes so deeply affected that they start experiencing PTSD-like symptoms.
Shit.
So it's a big deal. Massacre is not a word that we use to describe just any murder, you know, or just like serial killer, you know, like it's not like that, like a string of murders. Massacre is a whole group of brutal killings.
Yeah. And
all together, all at once.
And generational trauma. It's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
It really does get passed down.
I will say for the LDS members that are aware of this crime, they're extremely ashamed of it and regretful. And the church, I will say, has taken some action to be apologetic by petitioning to make this land, Mountain Meadows, a national historical landmark, so it's preserved.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, so they did their due diligence. Like, they tried.
Yeah.
They tried. So, story time. In 1857, James Buchanan was newly elected president, and he had heard rumors from the Utah Territory. So remember, we don't have states, we have territories at this point in time.
Oh, yeah. Yep, we're in the Victorian age.
Victorian?
Yeah, the 1800s. So it's like the Victorian age.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so weird to think of it that way.
I know. I know.
So he's heard rumors in the Utah Territory that the LDS community is doing some unsavory things. So the LDS community has settled there for the last 10 years at this point. And these rumors are coming from the mouths of federal appointees that have visited Utah. So federal appointees would come from Washington, D.C., and they would visit the territories, make sure everyone's like doing their part, the local government's doing what they're supposed to be doing, that kind of thing. It's just for accountability for the federal government.
Yeah.
In case some of you didn't know that, because I had to learn that. I didn't know what a federal appointee was. So President Buchanan has heard that there is a growing theocracy. In other words, leaders in the government and the Utah Territory were leading with religious bias.
Sounds familiar.
Doesn't it, though? So Brigham Young, have you heard of him? Neither have I.
I've heard of the university.
Brigham Young was the president of the LDS community at that time, and he was also governor of the Utah Territories. And then also, he was superintendent of, okay, this is an old title, and I hate even saying it, okay?
Okay.
But I don't know another way to say it right now. He was the superintendent of Indian Affairs.
I don't like that.
I hate it. Okay. So how can we say this?
Native American Affairs?
Indigenous Peoples Affairs? Huh?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Well, I guess it would be indigenous.
I just know I'm quoting the old title. It is no longer called that. I don't know what it's called today, but that's what it was called then. So the theocracy that's being practiced included polygamy, incest. These other two things, I don't know why they're a problem, but forming connections with Native Americans and apostates. I don't see how those are a problem, but whatever.
How dare you form connections with the Native Americans?
How dare you make friends? The other one. Obviously, the first two, polygamy and incest,
huge problems.
Are yeah. So, in the same year, 1857, Utah Territory's legislature, they're done with federal appointees. They're like, stop coming out here. Go and get. I don't want you. I don't want you here. So, LDS legislature sent a petition back to Washington, and they're like, stop sending your judges and your government officials. If they don't agree with our practices, just turn a blind eye. It's fine. Like, we're our own little place right now.
We can have incest in our families as much as we want.
Yeah. Throwing up noises. Insert barf. So the LDS Church has never had a great history with the government or law enforcement, as we found out in the Joseph Smith Jr. episode. In the 1830s and 40s, if you recall, the LDS community was driven out of Missouri and Illinois, and they were driven out specifically by military officials and government officials. Yeah. So that's why they came out to Utah, to get away from U.S. officials. But it's like, dude, you're still under the umbrella of the U.S. I don't know what to tell you. It's the same thing.
It's like those people that are like, oh God, what do they call themselves? Where they're like, I'm not a citizen of this country.
Oh,
I don't have to listen to your law enforcement. Shit, I don't know what they're fucking called. I can't remember it, but it always cracks me up because they get stopped by a cop and the cop's like,
yeah,
where's your driver's license? Or I don't have to follow these laws because I am whatever the fuck they are.
Someone's going to tell us what it is.
And I'm like, okay, because that's going to work. Like the cops are going to be like, oh, okay.
Oh, of course.
Is it a free citizen? free citizen? No.
Is that it? Is that the term?
I'll Google it.
Okay.
You keep going.
Anyway, toggling kind of back to the Joseph Smith Jr. stuff. So Joseph Smith and his brother were killed. And I didn't tell this last time. So they were both killed by that mob. But no one was convicted for their murders. Because it's a mob.
Yeah, who are you going to convict?
You know? Yeah. So we've got some bitter feelings from the beginning, you know? Right.
Yeah.
Even before they were driven out. So it's it's been a buildup, really, of not liking government officials.
Yeah. Sovereign citizens.
Sovereign citizens.
That's what they are. Sovereign citizens.
Damn. You know what? I don't recommend trying.
Yeah. Bad trick.
Personally,
0 stars.
Wouldn't go for it. So Brigham Young, he starts to hear that government officials and militia are going to come occupy their land because of what the federal appointees said.
Yeah.
To President Buchanan. They're starting to get anxious. They're getting uneasy. Plus, word has it that they also want to replace Brigham Young with a different governor that won't be, you know, practicing religion plus law enforcement government stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them.
Not great mixtures, you know?
You can mix cow shit and ice cream, but at the end, you still got cow shit. So that's that.
I've never heard of that before. That's a good one.
I think I first heard Keith Giles say that.
Oh my gosh. That does sound
I'm not even joking. I'm pretty sure he said it on the Messy Spirituality podcast.
Love it.
Well, Brigham, the brass on this guy, he's like, let him in. Let the government officials in, but don't let the army in. You know, I'll talk to the appointees. I'll talk to the big wigs. The big wigs.
But not the guys with guns.
But not the guys with the, what do they even have then? Muskets. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is the 1800s.
God, man. He says they will not drive us out again. So they make a plan just in case the troops try to come onto the territory. He doesn't want to kill them. He just wants to like harass them and bug them so they'll go away.
Oh my gosh.
Which like, I'm glad you don't want to kill them. So,
right. At least there's that.
They want to stall the troops through the winter.
Okay.
Their plan is they want to be seen by Congress and by the public eye as people that are being bullied by the troops.
Oh, so
this is political. This is has gone to a whole new level of we're going to manipulate the situation to work best for us so that we get what we want in the end, which is to continue practices that are taboo and often disgusting.
Illegal.
So,
not okay.
Illegal, all the bad things. Yeah. So they want to stall them until the winter because it's really hard do you know about Utah snow?
No, I've never lived in Utah, but I was about to say up north, like I've lived up north. And so I would say it's probably pretty similar because Utah's like just under, like we lived in Boise and Utah's not that far from us. So I'd say something similar. Not something you want to travel with your musket. No, it's difficult to do anything in the winter at this point in time. Yeah. To be honest, at this point, you need to stay indoors and you need to like seek shelter. Yeah. Anyway, so stall they did. Have you ever heard of Lot Smith? That sounds familiar. No,
I was hoping just say no.
No, never. Well, I really haven't because because I was thinking like Lot from the Bible is like where my mind went. So no, I have not.
So you ever hear of Lot Smith?
No, I have not.
Neither have I.
Who is Lot Smith?
Lot Smith led an LDS type militia thingy. I typed thingy. Okay. He wants to stall the U.S. official army So they burned the ground in front of the approaching troops so that their horses and animals would starve and they'd have to turn around.
Wow.
They also burned government supply trains. I mean, they actually fought with fire.
Oh my gosh.
That I would not recommend doing this.
What point do you get to where you're like, this is what Jesus would want?
Well,
when does that point come where you're like,
I think they're probably more thinking this is what Joseph Smith Jr. would want.
Yeah, true.
Versus
anything.
A spiritual hippie man with brown skin.
He would fight for this. So we're going to fight with him because he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was known as the Utah War.
God damn.
Yeah. Probably not something you read about in the history books. So
I doubt.
The troops are angry and they're stuck. Their plan works, Within the LDS Utah territory, the Mormons are being told during all of this that you need to save up your ammunition, your guns, your grain, all that good stuff. You don't need to sell it to any people like immigrants that are traveling through. There might be a siege coming just in case. So this is like plan B. They're like really preparing all the backlogs for this. So in case the troops actually do end up making it.
Yeah.
So they also secretly enlisted the help of a native tribe called the Paiutes.
Oh.
Brigham, like I said, he was the superintendent of relations with indigenous people.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was him that could speak the same language as the Paiutes or if he had another official that was the translator.
Okay.
But pretty much translators were there to help them speak about what's happening. So Brigham and his circle, they go to the native tribes and they tell the Paiutes, to raid immigrant cattle companies.
Okay.
Which are just, it's what it sounds like. It's groups of immigrants that have cattle that are selling them.
I was going to say livestock to make ends meet.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're saying, raid them. You can take the cattle. You can take whatever you want. But we just need you to start doing this.
Wow. Okay.
And previously they have told them to stay in their lane. They've kind of pushed them up into a certain section of Utah land and been like, stay up there, leave us alone.
Yeah.
So Brigham is also connecting with tribes that are already fighting against U.S. troops. They already have beef with them. I don't know what over. I just know that he's making more connections. He's really making a lot of alliances because he's thinking, I need more manpower in case of a civil war.
Wow.
He's really thinking ahead. So
he really is.
But not in the good ways.
No.
So the thought process here is extremely bigoted. Let me explain. So there are trails in Utah for the passing of goods and for immigrant travel. And, oh God, it's so bad. Okay. So the LDS, Brigham and his people, the leaders mainly, they want to make it look like they are the reason that the trails are open and safe.
Okay.
Because they've made agreements
with the tribes.
Pretty much they're saying, because of our presence here, we keep them civil. Which is not the case at all. That is not it.
I thought you meant this is where I'm so detached in modern days. I thought you meant make it more safe for the Native American tribes. No, you're saying make it more safe from
they're saying we control them, so as long as we're here, we control them. That's what they're saying.
Oh my
Which is not true.
Racist ass.
Technically, what the LDS community is doing, it seems to me, is they're controlling a lot of factors about supplies that Native Americans could get at the time, which is just true. They're
making them dependent on them.
Yeah. It's super racist. It's, they want to make it look like they're instigating warlike hysteria at this point. They're stoking the flames.
Yeah. Again, sounds familiar.
Yeah. And it's using the Paiutes to, like, as a means to an end goal. And they don't really care what happens to that tribe.
No.
At all. So they could, like,
fine if they just
it doesn't matter. So long story short, keep sending the U.S. troops here, raids will ensue. That's the point they're trying to get across to Congress and President Buchanan.
Yeah.
So ultimately, they want them to pull all the troops out and not come back to mess with them. So the natives, have been told before, stay up in your corner. So the natives say to the LDS, they're like, you told us to be, like, peaceful in the past. You told us to leave, all this stuff alone.
Yeah.
Why are you asking us of us now? And they say the U.S. is against us. This is a wartime strategy. Plus, we will give you all the cattle, supplies, and guns from the raids.
Oh my gosh.
So you see, they've tied their hands, like before, what we were saying, like those are really hard to come by things.
Yeah.
In
a time
very valuable things.
When their people is being persecuted and taken out and seen as less than. And
the immigrants are still choosy with who they're going to sell to.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't get the luxury of being able to purchase or trade cattle the same way that maybe an LDS member would.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can see here that, like, a lot of poor decisions are made across the board.
Yeah.
Everyone involved. However, manipulation and trickery is happening here.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't right what they're doing, what they did to the natives here.
They couldn't say no.
Yes. Yeah. They couldn't say no. So between September and October of 1857, there are several raids documented that were led by Mormons as well as... So it was led by Mormons, but it was executed by Native Americans throughout the border of Utah, Idaho, all the way to Nevada.
Wow.
So the raids were on, like, several different wagon trains, but none of them were leading to, like, disaster or, like, mass murder kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mostly it was like, give up your stuff or we'll hurt you. And it was like, okay, take everything.
Right.
That kind of thing. Like, just leave me with my life. So with war being on between Utah and the federal government, there's something else that's happening that's brewing that we got to talk about. Through 1856 and through 1857, the Mormon Reformation was happening. I had to read up on this.
I was going to say, what is that?
I didn't know there was a Mormon Reformation. So Brigham Young and the other church leaders, they felt that the LDS members weren't as devout or committed anymore to the cause. They were not tithing as much. They were not giving up. They were not volunteering and, like, giving up their time and resources. So this was bothersome to the leaders.
Oh, they're not sacrificing enough.
Of course, yeah. So they stepped up with their sermons. It got really, like, hellfire brimstone, you know? Really passionate and aggressively pressing the LDS community to take on their duties with more action. And they encouraged this in a violent manner.
Oh, my.
Not to say, like, they didn't, like, beat people over the head to make them believe. No, it was...
Yeah.
They encouraged violence in the form of blood atonement.
Jesus Christ.
Well, Jesus Christ's blood wasn't enough. that was just a good joke. Come on. You got to give me that.
I walked into that one. So
yeah, that was good. Okay, so let me explain if you don't understand blood atonement. Blood atonement happened for most Christians through Jesus Christ's blood being shed while he was on the cross. And that was enough to cover the sins of every nation, past, present, future, kind of thing. Well, the Mormons did not subscribe to that. So they do believe that, like, blood atonement counted, but not for, like, so far in the future. It has a cutoff kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't know when that is in time that they decided the cutoff was.
Right. from what I've understood, and I could be wrong, I'm not a historian or like a religious buff, but
Same.
like prior to Jesus, that's why they would like sacrifice animals, and they would be like pure animals, because their bloodshed would cover the animal's bloodshed would cover their sins in order for them to make it into heaven. But then
Christ was supposed to be the ultimate blood atonement for everything.
Everybody. Okay, but Mormons are saying,
it's not enough.
Like, there was an expiration date. You didn't see that?
Take it off the shelf. It expired, bitch.
This is stale blood atonement.
Oh, God. It's dried up. Okay. That's so gross.
Congealed. Okay, moving on.
It's not enough for like, specifically like bigger sins. So I know most Christian denominations would say like, oh, across the board, all sin is sin. Whether it's a lie or cheating or whatever, it's all the same. But Mormons have a different...
They have levels.
Theory on this? Yeah. So like the most heinous sins would be like murder and adultery. That's the top ones. So for any heinous crime such as that, they would have to offer their own blood to reach eternal salvation in heaven. So I'll give you an example though, because it didn't automatically mean like, okay, you cheated on your wife, die. They gave them outs, kind of, in a way, depending on the situation. So an example is a man confesses to having sex outside of marriage, and he comes to the church leaders, and they will like vote and find if it's necessary for blood atonement. Most of the time, it's like, don't do it again, slap on the wrist, you know.
Yeah.
But if it happens again, you know, that's when it's going to be a step up. And they may allow for like a couple of, it's based on the church leaders at that point.
Yeah.
So.
But is this blood atonement, is it like death blood atonement? Or is it like prick my finger or cut my hand?
Okay. Am
I jumping ahead?
I was just about to tell you.
Okay.
I'm just about to tell you. So.
My bad. Keep going.
If the church leaders find it necessary for blood atonement, they would tell the congregation something similar to like, we sent the adulterer to California, aka we killed them.
Jesus Christ.
Now we can't prove this. I can't prove this. A lot of these people just either have died under very suspicious circumstances or disappeared.
Allegedly. No, bitch, why would you confess to anything?
Because if you think your salvation depends on it, they want their own like. So Mormons believe that like, if you're like the highest of the high and the holiest of the holy, you get your own planet. You get your own heaven planet kind of thing. Like,
really?
It's wild. Okay. So that's what they want. You don't just get a mansion and a crown. I
was about to say.
Yeah.
They go the whole nine yards. We're over here. I got a mansion. I got jewels in my crown.
They're like, give me some Saturn rings, you know? Like,
give me my
that's what they're going for. They want the goods and the riches and the whole thing. They want everything. So that's why it's so important to them to maintain complete purity and to atone for all their sins.
Gosh, that's kind of a rude wake-up call when you get to the afterlife and you're like, where's my planet? They're like, bitch.
They're like, nice actually, this is just a whole room. Like, take a number. Take a number.
It's like the room at when they're like waiting in Beetlejuice.
It's the DMV. Is purgatory the DMV?
Yes, it is.
Perhaps.
Absolutely.
We'll see. We'll see. So there's lots of factors happening at this point in time with this really aggressive rhetoric, going on in their sermons. So the morning of September 7th, 1857, an attack on a cattle company ends in slaughter. This is the Mountain Meadows Massacre. So like I said before, this is a group of immigrants that are traveling from Arkansas to California.
Okay.
So before, normally the raids consisted of running off the cattle herd and no major incidents of violence.
Yeah.
However, Isaac Haight, which, what a name. It really describes him. Also, he's an ugly son of a bitch. I just got to say that. From the depictions of him. Good Lord. I mean, they all look inbred because most of them are.
They're fighting to keep incest and normal practice. So, like,
yeah,
there's a reason that, like,
there's a reason you all are ugly and you all die young.
There's a reason that, like, you can only donate, like, men can only donate so much sperm in a region.
Yes.
If you get these family lines too close,
it's too much. It's too much.
You have issues.
So Isaac Haight, he sends, he's one of those people that's a leader in the church. And you're looking up his picture, aren't you?
I have to, yeah.
Isn't he ugly?
I haven't looked it up yet. I haven't gotten to it.
So he's got a violent mindset, just like these other church leaders. Apparently, too, I learned this in the Book of Mormon. No, I have not read it. No, I won't be reading it. I just don't find any interest in it.
Right.
But apparently, there's a lot of like violent rhetoric in the Book of Mormon. So it's just kind of normalized as a state of being, like violence.
Okay.
I don't know. Isaac, he sends out this guy named John Lee. This is a key player, John Lee, to lead his band of militia LDS men to raid again, dressed as the Paiutes.
No.
Okay.
You racist son of a bitch. Also, he is ugly. There's something about those eyes.
It's too much. The facial hair really is just not good.
It's like a very ugly Abraham Lincoln.
He looks like pubes. Just like if pubes were personified. That's what.
That is this man.
I'm being real mean about appearance right now, but like it's just because
we're allowed
I know who he is.
When you're attracted.
When it's this person and he's been dead for hundreds of years, I think it's fine. You know, I think it's all right.
Allowed.
So
we're allowed.
So he sends them out dressed as the Paiutes with the assistance of the Paiute tribe. So remember, they've like rallied the Paiutes to help them too. So it's both of them.
I just wonder what the Paiutes were thinking going out.
They're thinking, we're getting supplies, we're getting cattle.
But seeing them dressed up as Paiutes.
I'm sure that was odd.
Like, what are you doing?
I'm sure there were words.
What are you doing? Don't ask questions.
I mean, they're telling them this is wartime.
Yeah.
This is desperate times call for desperate measures kind of thing. So I feel like you could probably get it to slide this one time. So the raid ensues. But this cattle company, they're called the Fancher Party, or like Baker Fancher Party.
Okay.
They were not to be trifled with. They fought back. So they did a wagon circle.
I would too.
Do you know what that is?
Yes.
So they'll do that when it comes like nighttime mostly to stand watch if they're having to stop.
The wagon circle, they do it around their cattle.
Yes, around the cattle and their like children and like all their goods pretty much.
Yeah.
So they do that and they are protecting their stuff. They fought back for 5 days.
What?
5 days worth of attacks.
That is a long ass time.
It was a lot. So, you know, but unfortunately on the 6th day, it did not end well. So, John Lee comes up with an idea. He is a bitch. He says, let me go out there dressed as myself, a normal guy.
Yeah.
Let me go to them as if, you know, as just a Mormon looking dude and be like, hey, I have spoken with them, with these natives. I'm here to rescue you and escort you out. When they're out, strike. But this time he wants it to be violent. This time it's different.
Why?
Ask John Lee, who's dead, which by the way, you'll love his death. And
okay.
I never thought I'd say that to you. You'll love this one.
I'm here for this.
The plan does work. He does convince them that he is the rescuer and that he has a party of people that are here to help them. And as they come out, they are brutally murdered with the muskets. Some were clubbed, stabbed.
God.
Horrible, disturbing things. Like literally in the book, Vengeance is Mine, it said that people that read the book, whenever they read these parts that are really graphic, I'm not getting into the graphic parts at all. I still don't know exactly what happened, but I just know that like it will make people physically ill. They'll like read a little bit, have to put it down, come back. Like, it's disgusting. Yeah. The things that they do. So all of the men and women were slaughtered in this, massacre.
Were there children?
I have more things to say.
Okay. Sorry. I need to stop asking questions.
It's okay. No. It's okay. It is important to know that the immigrants were unarmed. So they were fighting off attacks, for days with their own arms. But then at this point, when they're coming out, they're unarmed. They're told you don't need it because we're protecting you. We're the rescuers.
Oh my gosh.
Well, 2 of the militiamen said this wasn't supposed to go down this way. Okay. A lot of the militiamen are like, what? We didn't think it was going to end in violence, but they're having to go off of John Lee's orders.
Oh
it happens.
Gosh.
Well, these 2 militiamen, they're like, we're going to go report back to Isaac, let him know what's happening. On the way back, they meet 2 stragglers of that same immigrant group. And they're like, oh my God, because they're like, all the cattle that has like kind of separated from the group, they're like herding them back in towards the pass. And they're like, oh my God, all their party is slaughtered. We can't have 2 more. Like, we can't do this. We can't do this. They kill them. Make a really poor choice and they kill them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Senseless. Just to save face. Just because they're vain. Yeah. Horrible.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, they slaughter all the adults minus 17 little children who they believe will not remember this to tell the tale. These kids were ages 6 and under.
Yeah, they go, remember this shit, you fucking idiot.
So this group of immigrants not only had those stragglers, but guess what? There was another party behind them that was friends with them.
Oh.
They knew each other and they knew they were both on the trail. But by the time they got there, everyone had cleared out. They just see dead bodies everywhere.
Can you imagine?
And little children.
Alive. You leave the children alive, but then leave them stranded in the middle of fucking nowhere. And they're not going to remember this? Bitch.
Yeah, so their friends come up on the scene. They see what's happened. And they're like, get the kids. Start going on their way to California, just as they've been doing. There's nothing else they can do there.
What are they going to do?
All the stuff's been raided.
Yeah.
Except the kids. They take the kids, they go.
Yeah.
So they make it to California. And the California newspapers, they start talking. They're like, listen what happened. Our friends got killed. We don't know what happened. We don't know what went on. And so the California media, they're looking for the motive. And they come up with this theory. And I can totally discredit it. Okay. I have sources to discredit.
Okay.
But some people still believe it to this day.
Oh my.
So they come up with this theory that an LDS apostle named Parley Pratt, who was murdered in Arkansas in May of 1857, so that same year.
Yeah.
They think that his murderer, his name was Hector McLean, is the same murderer that killed all those people. Because they're all from Arkansas.
One person.
The 1800s was just a weird time, wasn't it? Not very good at solving crime.
They have a very straight squiggle. They have no squiggle. They have a straight line.
A straight squiggle.
It's a straight squiggle. It is no squiggles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that theory, like I said, it's still entertained today, but it doesn't hold up because, first of all, there's no evidence of that. But also, we know the reason why Hector killed Parley. Hector's wife wanted to become part of the Mormon church and be a plural wife of Parley Pratt. She wanted to marry him instead of Hector. Yeah. She wanted to leave Hector for Parley. So there's the motive right then and there.
Right. That makes sense.
Day. He was angry and he went out to kill Parley.
Yeah.
So,
and also, is he like a ninja? Because like
that's what I'm thinking. Like,
that would be the only explanation I could come up with that he
unless you came up with a bomb or something to kill all those people all at once. Like, there's no way. Yeah. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Yeah. The LDS militiamen who murdered the Fancher's Baker party, they took a vow of silence. The only time they spoke on the situation was to blame the natives. It all comes back around. They were using them the whole time. It didn't matter how this was going to end. They were going to blame them. Yeah, I have the same reaction. Those words, I can't spell them, but I feel them.
Exactly. It's just like banging on your keyboard. That's how you spell it.
Yes. So the church covered this up for a while. They were really trying to save their people. Mm-hmm. So Brigham Young, he knew the truth. You know, he told U.S. President Buchanan, I will let you appoint a new governor. I will step down without argument. Just pardon the Mormons for this atrocity.
What? No.
He was like, I'll give you over a person if you really need someone to punish.
Oh my gosh.
And Buchanan was like, yeah, I need someone to punish. Yeah. It's got to be justice somehow here. So he said, okay, take John Lee. Take him. I don't want him.
Talk about throwing somebody under the bus.
I mean, so John Lee was held as a fugitive until 1874.
Damn. That's a long time.
And he was tried in court for his actions in leading the siege and massacre. John Lee was convicted in court in 1876. And in 1877, he was taken to Mountain Meadows and executed for his crimes on the very land that he killed.
Fuck yeah.
I think that's badass.
I think that is badass. I love that.
So today, Mountain Meadows is a preserved and protected National Historic Landmark area. So the remains of the people killed there have a peaceful, memorialized resting place on Earth. Every year on the anniversary of the massacre, descendants of the victims and descendants of the perpetrators, also some church members and historians, they'll all gather to remember the tragedy and honor the lives lost.
Wow.
And that is Mountain Meadows Massacre.
That is very beautiful. They still do that to this day.
Yeah. And those kids, they talked. They remembered what happened.
Exactly.
They talked. And you know what? A lot of those great-grandchildren, great-great-great-grandchildren, you know, they carry a guilt and a weight.
Yeah.
Over the whole thing, like the fact that their ancestors were killed. And then also the descendants of perpetrators are like, our people committed this. The co-author of Vengeance is Mine, Barbara Jones Brown, she actually speaks in that podcast link. And she says that she found out that one of her ancestors was a perpetrator of the crime. Like one of the militiamen was one of her ancestors. So she also was like carrying a guilt about it when she found out.
Yeah.
And she said, I forgot, she ran into someone who was like part of the Mormon church. Like it was either one or two men that she ran into that she knew were the descendants of the surviving children. She ran into them after she figured out I'm one of the descendants of the perpetrators. And she said she just like, she didn't even like greet them. She just came up and held their hands and was like, your ancestor did not deserve to die. And I'm so sorry about what happened at Mountain Meadows. And like, she said they just, both of those men just broke down crying and they all just like hugged and cried together. Because,
oh my gosh.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, on both sides, it's a big deal. There was so much trickery involved.
Yes. Okay. So what was the point in these raids? Like, what was their end goal?
To convince the government that they were keeping the land safe by being there and by telling them, like, we're coming onto the land and stuff. Like, Like by bringing the U.S. troops there, you are causing raids and hysteria to ensue because you're trying to push us off the land. But we're the ones keeping it safe and calm and civil.
But they're the ones that are causing the raids. So they're yeah. Okay.
It's all a play. It's all a play.
Okay. Now the dots are connecting.
None of that was going to happen. None of that at all was going to happen. What was going to happen is incest and polygamy was going to be done with.
Yeah. And this is what happens when you think with your dick and not your brain.
Which, by the way, okay, I understand there are poly relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine if that works for you.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people are forced into polygamy. And that's what we're talking about in this case. And child brides and things like that. So this is not like a consensual type of poly relationship. Because it's fine if you're in an agreement to have multiple partners and multiple whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this type of polygamy is just, it's a different, it's different. This is different.
And I have a problem, own personal opinion. You can disagree with it if you want. I have a problem with polygamist marriages, especially when religion is tied to it. Because there's so much pressure for these women to,
it's hard to get out of that situation.
In a polygamist relationship, or like your purpose or your religion or what is right depends on that. And that's when I have a problem with it, because you can say like, but they are consenting.
Mm-hmm.
But take religion out of it.
Yeah.
Would they still be consenting? No,
they wouldn't.
That's not consent. Like that is not.
That's coercion, which is not consent. We all know that coercion is not consent. So, so that's why in this case, we are speaking against polygamous relationships, because it is not consensual, simply. And it's also extremely hard for them to get out of.
Yeah.
It is not difficult in this day and age. Well, maybe mentally, but physically and financially, it's easier to remove yourself from a poly relationship. So thank you guys for listening to this one. And for sure, check out the podcast where Barbara talks more about this.
Yeah.
And if you want to read the book, just be aware that it's really, really graphic, but it's,
it's available.
Free game.
We'll link that as well. Also, Mormon Stories just all together. It's a very professional show. They've had a lot of people on there that I highly, highly recommend. I pretty sure that I cannot think of his name off the top of my head, but if you listened to the Ruby Frankie episode, the guy who came out about the abuse he suffered in the Boy Scouts, and then his
is he on that one?
Yeah, I'm pretty
interesting.
sure he is on the Mormon Stories. I'll have to find it, but yeah, they just have a great podcast, so always highly recommend them. So yeah, they're
very ethical. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, they're great.
Listening to them. Really so,
Jordan and McKay are also two ex-Mormon YouTubers that I absolutely love as well. I've learned a lot, and that's kind of like where I followed the Ruby Frankie case when it first started happening, was through Jordan and McKay, because they are both ex-Mormons. And so another channel, I'll link them below. Highly recommend them as well for more in-depth personal lived experiences within the Mormon, ex-Mormon branch.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let's get on to some palate cleansers. We need them.
Palate cleansers. What's yours?
Mine is... Oh, shit. I had one. God, why did you... I thought you'd go first. Talk about penis and whatever you said earlier.
Okay, so I always think of my palate cleanser, and then by the time we go to record, I forget it. So I always text Lola and be like, okay, palate cleanser.
Craps out on me.
I'm like, this is just remind me of this and this. And so today I text her and I was like, my palate cleanser, remind me of penis and bunnies.
And I don't like it. I don't like it from the title.
So it's not a spoiler alert, but I will give a tiny little piece of information from the A Court of Silver Flames book. So I was out dealing with the bunnies and the chickens and everything the other day. And I was at the part where they are fighting at the end. I won't say like specific words, but they're fighting at the end.
Yeah.
And Nesta throws the knife and it hits the guy in his groin, is what it says.
Yeah.
Hit the knife. And I'm like bent over, getting like the chicken's food. And I was like, oh, and I made that exact sound. And then all of a sudden, my bunny in her cage, like it's a long cage. It's like 9 feet long. And so she just starts going crazy. And she's like running because I was so loud.
Yeah.
Shed. Like,
oh my God.
Like, scared the shit out of her.
You turned the on button on for the bunny.
She's like going crazy. And I was like, I stopped and I look over and she had like landed at like right by my face. And she's looking at me and I look at her and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I whisper and she just like goes thump really hard with her leg. Like, you know how bunnies like thump their
Yeah.
when they
She
just
stomps.
She stomped and I was like, I'm sorry. I know I scared you. And then she goes thump again.
She's like, I don't care.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm so
funny.
sorry. But it was a good part. I was like, oh.
I get it. Yeah.
I thought it was so funny. So.
Okay. I have mine.
Okay. What's yours?
Which I told Lacey about it a little bit earlier. So I had my gutters cleaned out today. No, that's not a euphemism. I literally needed my gutters cleaned on my house. And so the guy that's up on my roof, he's like perched on the edge of it like an owl or something. And I was just watching him as I'm cutting limbs down in my yard. And I yell up there, I'm like, please don't fall. And he looks at me and he's like, I'm trying not to. And then when he gets down later, he was like, minutes before that, I was ready to jump. but you said, don't fall. And I said, okay. Just a great sense of humor. The delivery on it was so authentic. It made my day. And then we talked about the podcast for a while.
I was about to say that like when he first like showed up at your house.
Oh yeah. He showed up, first words out of his mouth. I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm Lola. And he was like, you're famous, aren't you? And I was like, where'd you hear that? And he was like, you got a podcast. And I was like, oh, have you listened to it? And he's like, no. He said, no, I stalked your Facebook. And I was like, oh, well, you should listen. I'll send you an episode to listen to.
But then Lola goes, that's okay. I stalked your Facebook too. I know you have 2 kids.
I was like, that's all right. It's not weird. I stalked your Facebook. I know you're married with 2 kids. So
it's such
so
like,
John, let me give you a shout out. John, you did an awesome job. And I hope that you listen.
Yeah, I hope he does. It's such a normal thing in today's world to be like, oh yeah, I stalked your social media.
I stalked your Facebook. I stalked your social media.
But
it's not alarming.
It's not alarming. But do you remember like back in the day, I'm married now. So, and like I still talk to all my exes that like from when I was like older exes and stuff before I joined the cult. Yeah. And so like we still have good relationships, like not best friends, but like we're cordial. But like I remember when I was younger, you would like check your ex-boyfriends, like Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you'd like get caught up in it and you'd like scroll really far back and then all of a sudden you'd accidentally like one of the
like
photos
something.
And you're like, oh my God.
Visceral reaction to that.
Yes. I had a friend a couple of years ago on TikTok. Her name was Rachel, and she made content and she was talking about how she was like checking her ex-boyfriend's Facebook page and accidentally she was on like a desktop, I think, when she checked it and she like accidentally tagged herself and him and his new family's like thing. I was really trying to delete her.
Shit.
I was like, oh my God, that'd be mortifying.
Oh, that'd be some kind of shit I'd do.
I know, right? Same.
That would be just my luck.
Same. Well, anyways, guys, thank you for listening.
Yes, thanks so much for being here with us. We love that you're part of our community. And if you'd like to join our Patreon and be even more connected with our community, that's awesome. And the link is everywhere on our stuff. It's everywhere.
As always, those are there all the time. We don't forget those.
No. Well, with that, stay safe, stay skeptical,
and steer clear of the cultish carousel. We interrupt this episode with a message from our sponsor. If you've ever deconstructed your faith, you know it's not easy. But just imagine if you could have people to guide you through the process.
That's right. People like Jim Palmer, Kristen Dumez, author of Jesus and John Wayne, Jennifer Knapp, Brad Jerzak, Brian Zond, Paul Young, author of The Shack, and more. Well, if you head over to choiracademy.com and register for Square 2 using the promo code LOLA, you'll get 10% off the regular registration cost of this awesome course and community just for being a fan of our show.
All links can be found in the show notes. Again, that's code LOLA, LOLA, for 10% off the Square 2 course. Also, heathens, if you're enjoying the show so far, please like, subscribe, do all the fun things. We appreciate all the likes and subscribes and reviews we've gotten so far. We love each and every one of you. Thank you for being a listener. We appreciate it from the bottoms of our hearts. Also, our sponsors for today's episode, as always, they're going to be down in the show notes. Please give them a try if you want. We would love and appreciate that as well. It shows your support for the show. Deadly Faith is brought to you by Choircast Network. It is produced by Lacey Bean and Lola Robbins and audio engineered by Eric Howe. Thanks for listening.